is a great way to get to know your soul senses and soul abilities. It's not easy for everybody, but meditation is a great tool in order to focus on what's coming in. Sometimes it's really hard because you're trying, but you shouldn't be trying if you're sitting in meditation. And that's why in this episode, we need to talk about meditation. Because for me, meditation has been a great place in order for me to still everything around me and focus only what's happening in my body, what's happening in my mind, and where I observe information that's coming in that I'm receiving. Meditation for the beginner. Here's how meditation impacts your psychic, intuition, and other soul abilities development on NextGEN Medium, the podcast. Hey, I'm Sarah Nickerson. I discovered my psychic medium intuitive abilities just a few years ago. Throughout the years, I've had hints that I have abilities, but it wasn't until a couple years ago when I took like a 6-hour course in mediumship that I uncovered it. And the small experiences that I experienced on that one day led to a spiritual awakening and an understanding, a much deeper understanding of my abilities that I did not even know was possible. I uncovered my abilities, and I have to believe that these are abilities that everybody shares. Maybe some of these abilities aren't all of your abilities that I talk about. Maybe my abilities aren't your abilities, the scope that you have, but there is a foundation there of a whole new world that we can't see, that science has a hard time explaining, that we even have a hard time explaining, that is an individualistic journey for you to be set on. And I want to help you get there. I want to expose your awareness to these concepts. And I also want you to imagine that this is for you too, because it is. I just need you to open that possibility that this is real for you. And one way to really open up that possibility is through meditation. Meditation is a way for you to sit still, not be distracted by all the things that steal our attention. Our phone, the TV, the computer screen, even a book can steal your attention. These things take your attention away from what's happening in your body, what you feel, what you perceive. And with meditation, it's a way to clear you of these objects of attention and to focus on what is going on in your imagination and in your body. These are the places that you receive information. Meditation is a simple way to get you to these senses. Meditation is really very simple, and its purpose is just as simple. Meditation is a seemingly simple task, but it has so many purposes. It relieves stress, it helps subside anxiety, which is something I have personally experienced with meditation as a therapeutic way of relieving my anxiety. It is also a way to connect with those that have passed on. These are my experiences of what meditation has done for me. And all of these experiences come after my spiritual awakening of uncovering my abilities. It's a way to quiet down external influence and for you to be able to focus on what's going on in your imagination, in your mind. What sensations are you feeling on your body? Other people use meditation for grounding purposes, to practice mindfulness, to practice concentrating, or some people use it to transfer therapeutic energy to those that need it. There are many different uses for meditation, so there can be many different purposes to serve those uses. But ultimately, meditation is a way to quiet things down so you can listen to that higher self that we all have. Now, what is the purpose of meditation for soul abilities development? soul abilities like psychic abilities or intuition training. Meditation develops great practice for the developing psychic, medium, intuitive healer, whatever direction you want to go, whatever mode you want to take, with a couple of different advantages. First of all, meditation allows you to become aware of your own energy. It makes you aware of your own thoughts, the running commentary that you have going on in your mind. It also makes you aware of your usual feelings and sensations. As a soul energy worker, it is important to know what being in your body feels like in order to receive, perceive, interpret messages through soul or psychic senses. Being in meditation, building that baseline of where your energy is, what your normal is, allows you to compare sensations of yours with sensations that are external of you. The external is the messaging. This is the information coming in from spirits, from the source, from somebody else around you. Your body is the baseline and what you compare all other energies, feelings, and ideas from. When you are reading others' energies, you base it off of learning to read from your own. So learning your energy is just a step into understanding energy in general. What's very interesting about this talk about understanding your energy and meditation, allowing you to perceive it and be objective of it, is it very much falls in line with other things that go along with understanding the soul senses and soul abilities. Understanding your reference, you, what you bring to the table, your truth, your reference of energy is what you experience from your own energy. Your reference of symbols comes from what these symbols mean to you and builds the language that you have with spirit. And when I say spirit, I'm talking about those external influences that come in and give you messages, which could also include other people's loved ones that have passed on and you're talking to them through mediumship. They're also included in that word spirit. You use your body, you use your attention, your focus, your recollection to be able to identify with others' experiences. Meditation allows you to feel what it feels like to understand others. So how does one meditate? We all imagine the Buddhist monk sitting with their eyes closed and their legs crossed. Yeah, this is one way that you can go about doing meditation. But really, there's no one particular way to meditate. It's really the state of mind that you're in which you are able to meditate. Where can you focus and not have your attention diverted? That's really what it comes down to. And for some people, it's really uncomfortable to just sit with your eyes closed and just sit there. I've come across so many people that just can't handle it. They can't deal with it. So I think it's important for you to know that what we think of as meditation, where you're sitting with your legs crossed and you got your hands on your knees and you're closing your eyes, that is just one way to meditate. It really depends on the person. For me, I have lived a life where I've been able to sit and focus for long periods of time. So being able to sit in that sort of stereotypical meditation kind of way, that's my bag. I'm down with that. Other people, though, they need to kind of be doing something in order to get into a meditative state. And that's fine too. Really what it comes down to is why you want to meditate. And that's to get yourself comfortable and to be able to focus on the sounds, the feelings, the thoughts that are going on inside of you. And then people wonder, well, don't I have to sit for like a half hour, an hour, like 6 hours? Like, whoa, hey, okay. 6 hours is like, I'm going to take a nap. My naps are 6 hours, which is ridiculous. That's why I hate naps, because it's the last thing I should be doing. Messes everything up. The amount of time you sit and meditate is really, again, up to you. Some people, they do it every day for 20 minutes. Sometimes twice a day for 20 minutes. Other people never meditate. And when I say other people, I'm talking about other mediums, other intuitives. I used to meditate a lot. And now I've gotten to a point where I don't really meditate anymore. I always think about how I want to meditate, but I don't ever get to it. But I can still do readings. I can still receive messaging and perceive and interpret. And not being able to meditate really hasn't affected what I do right now and where I'm at right now. But I think in the beginning of my journey, it was important to set aside time in order for me to know where my baseline was, in order to know what was external information that was coming in, to know also what kind of information that was. Was that mediumship? Was that psychic? Was it intuitive? With meditation, I think I was able to start discerning where information was coming from, how it was different from mediumship messaging, how that was different than my intuitive messaging, these ways that I was receiving. Not to say that they were different using my clairs, but there did seem to be a peripheral, a proximity where information gets directed to me from different places around me. My mediumship stuff comes in from my right and above. And then my psychic stuff tends to come in from the left, my left side. And even where this is in space, I could actually hold an object where it comes from and to be able to show you where it is when it comes in. And it is through meditation that I was able to discern that, as well as be able to focus on what is coming in and be able to discern what senses were giving me that information, those psychic soul senses. So really what it comes down to is why you want to meditate. You want to be able to get yourself comfortable. You want to be able to focus on those sensations that I was talking about. And when it comes to timing, that is really up to you. I say once you feel like you've gotten something out of it and you're starting to fall asleep or your mind is starting to wander, maybe that's enough time for you. There's no wrong way that it can be done. And there can be times when it's frustrating and you maybe feel like, why am I not getting anything? What's happening? Sometimes putting pressure on yourself while you're meditating isn't serving the purpose of meditation. So you got to take it easy. You know what I mean? You got to be forgiving of yourself. But what's cool about meditation is that you probably already do it. You already have a way of doing it. You don't have to be sitting with your eyes closed to do it. And it's actually a very natural thing. It just happens when your brain is in autopilot. One of the mediums I've trained with says she meditates while doing the dishes. Another meditates and even speaks with spirit when she irons. I meditate while I drive, while I go for my hour-long walks, or when I've created artwork and music, even showering, I can get in a meditative state. I think one tip that I can give you is, where do you go when you use your imagination? Where do you go when you daydream? That's the place you want to be. So ways that we meditate that aren't that Buddha sitting with his hands on his knees and closing his eyes, washing the dishes, ironing, driving, walking. And of course, you can go to default mode and try the sitting. And those are just a couple of suggestions. But I would take a look at what you already do to meditate, that maybe you don't put that phrase to it that you meditate. All right, well, I got to give you a 1, 2, 3, 4 step to meditate. And this is what I got for you. Steps for basic meditation. I'm just going to say it out loud. Here we go. Number 1, sit comfortably. You don't want to be sitting in a weird position that's going to distract you after a while, because that's defeating the purpose of meditation. So be sure where you're sitting is a comfortable spot. And how you're sitting is comfortable too. I would say close your eyes would be our second step. What you're really aiming for is to not have anything in your visual periphery. Periphery is the word of the podcast. In your periphery, that's going to distract you. Okay? That's the point. That's why we want to close our eyes. It takes out that outside, external, those physical distractions. Step 3. Now that you're sitting comfortably, you've got your eyes closed, it's time to take 3 deep breaths in and out. This is a way that you can start training your body by using your body to develop the procedure of its meditation time. It's also a way that helps relax the body and turns your focus from what's going on outside to what's going on inside. And it's a good transition. 3 deep breaths. It's a good amount of time to shift your focus. It's a good amount of time for you to get started. And the 4th step for basic meditation that I would give you is to just sit in your thoughts. Allow for your imagination to just do its thing. Let it take you wherever it needs to go. And it is through that you will start receiving information. It is how you use your imagination that will determine whether it's yours, whether you are giving that information, whether you're putting things on the canvas, or if something external is doing that. But with meditation, it's not like you're going to get it automatically unless this is a way that you're used to being, sitting still for a long period of time. If you're an artist, you sit still for a long period of time. You're focusing for a long period of time, and it might be easier for you to transition to being able to be in that meditative state and taking on, and maybe already being familiar with what is mine and what is something else that's coming in that is influencing me. And so number 4, sit in your thoughts. Just let it roll. When you're first starting out in meditation, you kind of have to be in this place. As much as you want to get started on getting messaging, first you got to know what's normal for you. And that's getting to know the thoughts that run through your head too. Because some people just aren't familiar with it. You think that people would be, but we live in a society that's meant to distract us. It's just how it works. These are very basic steps that I think you could take on beyond the sitting Buddha thing. You can take on with doing the dishes or going for a walk. You might want to open your eyes when you walk. Just a recommendation, but you can still be in that meditative place and still be physically doing things. And again, how long you sit there for, that's really up to you. If you're just starting out with meditation, I would say give it a good 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a good amount of time to transition to being able to become focused on what's going on internally and what's going on with the imagination, letting that run a little bit, letting yourself hear your internal talk, your internal conversation. Doing that for 20 minutes and doing it for a couple times a day for a couple weeks. I would say that that's a good way to build your baseline of what your energy is for you to become familiar with that place. Because when you start practicing with that place and receiving messaging, you need to be able to compare what it's like to be at your baseline and what is unusual for that baseline. So after 2 weeks, you should be pretty familiar with it, especially if you're doing a cumulative of 40 minutes a day of meditating. So I have to admit, I had never really meditated before my spiritual awakening, before I became aware that I had psychic mediumship abilities. I did get a book that had a meditation practice in it, and I think I tried it, but it was sort of like, I'm just using my imagination. This is boring. But it really is that simple, that you are focused solely on that piece. That is where meditation needs to take you in order for you to really get a sense of your soul senses, of your soul abilities, and the information that it is giving you at that time that you probably dismiss as just my imagination. But I tried meditation a few times years ago, just wasn't my thing. Then, once I had this 6-hour course that I went through, I became very interested in wanting to be in a meditative state, because I found in the exercises we did in that 6-hour class, we were doing guided meditations. Guided meditations were how I witnessed my psychic and mediumship abilities for the first time. And so I knew that that was a place that I could go to in order to tap into that stuff. It was through meditation and through that class that I realized I was able to focus inward and see the imagery painted in my mind's eye. And I've seen it all my life. I've used it all my life. But this is the opportunity that I had to actually share what was going on in my head, and realizing that it was very reflective of what was going on for other people in their lives. And that this was information I was receiving, and it wasn't just my imagination just being my imagination, which we've grown to understand imagination is a falsehood, a place of pretend, when in fact it is a treasure trove of truth. But once I was able to talk out loud about the things that were happening in my head, the things I was seeing, and had confirmations from others around me on my visions, my knowings, my feelings, then it was an awareness that what I was receiving during meditation was actually messages that were coming from my soul senses and were being used by my soul abilities. Meditation allowed me to recognize the imagery, sensations, information flowing through my head without a task at hand, without having to solve a problem or being mindful of time in the process. And I think this is something important to do with meditation. There is an on-off switch. So off switch, you are not putting anything there. You're just letting things flow. You are surrendering and allowing for nothing to contribute nothing to this. You're just breathing and observing. Using your imagination with the on switch in this meditative state, you're planning, you're creating, you've got a task at hand. There's a purpose to being there in solving a problem or creating a goal. I don't know. But meditation became the place that I went to experiment as well. And once I started meditating after having that course, I started receiving stuff via mediumship and psychic and intuitive, all these different modes, which mediumship a little bit easier to distinguish than the psychic or intuitive, of seeing how these modes of information are different. Psychic, intuitive, those were hard for me to distinguish for a very long time. Nonetheless, mediumship is what took me there. Mediumship is what allowed me to test the waters, and it was through the information that I got in my meditations that I could bring to people and try to see if this was actual information. And time again, it would be. Probably the most profound thing when it came to meditation that I have experienced is how it became a tool to deal with high anxiety for me. There was a time many years ago, it was like 6 years ago, to me that's many, when I started developing really high anxiety. I didn't know why it was happening. I didn't know how to control it. And so I do what every consumer American does, and I go to the doctor and I say, hey, doctor, I have high anxiety. Please give me medication so I don't have to feel like I want to crawl out of my skin. So I started taking anti-anxiety medication 6 years ago. Now let's go ahead a couple years, and I take that mediumship course. A couple days after the mediumship course, I start having really high anxiety again. It's like a revisit of that intense energy that I first felt like 6 years ago, that I had to go to a doctor because I couldn't sleep. My heart was pounding. When I did go to sleep, I'd wake up and it was like, how could I only sleep for 2 hours? How is that possible? It just really messed with my life in a way that I've never experienced before, and I still don't understand completely why that happened to begin with. But here I was dealing with it again. And to put this into a little bit more context, a couple days after I took that course, that's 1 day, 6-hour course, I can now look back and see that was the start of my spiritual awakening, was going through this really high anxiety period. And I talked to the instructor for that course, that 1 day course that I went to, and she said, you need to try meditation. You need to try white light meditation. And so for about a week, I was doing the white light meditation with the onset of this high anxiety. Mind you, I'm still on anti-anxiety medication at this point. So it was like, okay, well, this is better than having to switch medications again. All you people out there who take that kind of stuff, you know the side effects that goes along with it and how it can really mess with your life. And so it was like, oh God, I don't want to go through that again. I will try the meditation. I did meditation for a week, and it was almost like it was a gradual decrease day after day, but it was so effective that it almost angers me to think that I am still, to this day, on anti-anxiety medication instead of having tried meditation first. If only I had been prescribed to try meditation first. I'm still kind of angry about it, but meditation ended up being a therapeutic use to lessen the high anxiety I was going through. And so that's another reason to partake in meditation. So here it is. You have the option to do some meditation, to feel what it is to be in your body. What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What are the thoughts that go on when you are still? It can be kind of scary for some people, but this, if you want to be practicing the soul ability stuff, the soul journey stuff, you got to get used to reality and what is the truth in you. And if that scares you, then you got a lot of work to do. You got to be honest in this journey or it's not going to work out. Right there. Okay? On my website, you can go to the blog, and I've got all this stuff written out about meditation. In the blog, I also have a video. I also have a YouTube where you can find the video too, but I'm going to take you to the blog. I have the white light meditation for the developing psychic. This is the same meditation that got me through my high anxiety period. So check that out. Also meditation resources on the blog at nextgenmedium.com. You can also book an appointment with me and we can talk about how I can guide you through your development. I like to do sort of like a consult where you tell me what's going on, you tell me the experiences you've had. It allows me to assess where you are in your soul journey, allows me to assess your soul senses, your soul abilities, and from there I can give you recommendations on where to go next, also to maybe get familiar with where you want to go with your soul journey, what your purpose is, and then from there I'll give you some recommendations and you can go forth and do your thing. Just go to my website, nextgenmedium.com, and you can book an appointment. We can even do readings. Hey, we can be really simple about it and just do some cool readings. nextgenmedium.com for more development stuff. You can like me on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Instagram, and that does it for this episode of NextGEN Medium, the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Maybe do a little meditation later, and I'll chat with you next episode on NextGEN Medium, the podcast.